Hello everyone and welcome to Lesson 5. We are still continuing with the story of Rosa Parks. I want you to focus very well with me because we are going to talk about her for this time and one more time. She is a very famous and very important person in history, and it's very important for you to always remember her name. Her name is Rosa Parks. Let's read this together because after that we have some questions. I want you to read with me, okay? While I'm reading, please put your hand on the paper and follow with me and read aloud. Let's start. Civil Rights Biography. Rosa Parks. Civil rights, it means al-حقوق الإنسانية. Biography, it means when someone writes about someone else. Rosa Parks was not trying to do anything amazing that evening when she refused to give up her seat on the bus in Montgomery, Alabama. She knew that the bus had separate sections for colored and whites, but she was already sitting in the appropriate section. When more white people got on the bus, the driver told her she had to give up her seat. She was tired. She had just finished a long day of work. She didn't think about being a hero, she just didn't want to get up. Rosa's decision to stay seated caused a lot of people to stop and think. She was arrested for not getting up when the driver asked her to, and many thought that arresting her was not fair. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led a boycott of the bus system in Montgomery to show that people were not happy with the way Rosa Parks and other colored were being treated. Let me stop here and explain what happened. So we all watched the movie yesterday. Okay, if you forgot the movie, please go back and always remember her story. Go back to lesson 3 and 4. So she just came back from work and she was extremely tired. All she wanted to do is just sit on the bus and be like any other normal person. So as I told you yesterday, there were the segregation laws. Remember what the word segregation means? Segregation means separation. The separation of the whites and the colored, or they also called them black. So either colored or black. So she sat in the bus with the colored in her place. And so white people started getting on the bus, so she had to stand up and give her seat to white people. She refused. She didn't agree. She told the driver, "No, I'm not giving the seat." And the driver called the police. And she got arrested. Arrested means she went to prison. Now after that, while she was in prison, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we will talk about him after the story of Rosa Parks. But also remember his name. He's a very important person in history. So this person, he is also black. He was the leader of a boycott. We talked about boycott yesterday. Boycott is when someone stops using a certain service to make a point. And at that time, I explained yesterday that the black people, they were the ones who mostly used the bus. So when they decided, "Khalas, we're gonna stop using the bus," for the government to notice and to see and to suffer, because they were getting all the money from the black people. When they stopped using the bus, some changes started to happen. Let's continue. For 382 days, people walked or gave each other rides in cars so that the bus company would lose so much business that it would have to give in and change their unfair policies. It means that when the black people stopped using the bus, okay, the bus company lost a lot of money. So they had to rethink about the rules and about the policies and to reconsider what should we do now. Let's continue. It took more than a year, but the boycott was successful. Even though the bus boycott was the first time Parks gained publicity, it was not her first fight for civil rights. She and her husband Raymond both joined the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People after they settled in Montgomery, Alabama. After Rosa was arrested on the bus, they helped from the Montgomery Improvement Association. Together with its leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., they organized and participated in the bus boycott and eventually had Rosa's criminal charges dropped by a Supreme Court decision. Because of their efforts, making people of different races sit in separate areas on public transportation was outlawed. Okay, so let me stop here and explain. So, while she was in prison, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and her husband, they worked on this bus boycott, and eventually they took Rosa out of prison, okay, and this segregation of white people and black people on the bus was outlawed. Outlawed, it means that they stopped this rule. They took this rule out. Okay, let's continue. Pathways to Freedom is a special program for teenagers that Rosa started after her husband died in 1977. Her non-profit company, the Rosa and Raymond Parks Institute for Self-Development, pays for the teens to travel the United States by bus and visit historical sites. While on the road, they learn about the civil rights movement and how it affected American history. President Clinton awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1996, and Congress presented her with a gold medal in 1999. Rosa Parks died in 2005. In her 92 years of lives, she touched many other lives working against racism, so we have the word racism, and towards a world where people could be treated with equality. So this is what she did after she got out of prison. She worked more towards the civil rights movement, and she opened a company for people to get on the bus, to travel, to see historical sites, and on the bus they would learn about the civil rights movement. And you can see the dates, 1996, 1999. These are very, very recent. She was awarded by the president many medals. She went on stage and she got a lot of medals and awards. So your homework for tomorrow will be to answer these questions